Hello and welcome to Conversations with Ruth. I am Ruth. I am also known as Notorious RVG. During the time I worked with ACLU, I encountered legal aid attorneys and was always impressed with their dedication and good work. I realized that I do not know much about legal aid of North Carolina. I have wondered what legal aid really is. How is legal aid able to serve all those that are eligible for its services? That legal aid not only provides services in specific areas, but to target populations, such as veterans, seniors, Native Americans, and victims of trafficking. Equally important is what are the services legal aid provides? Well, to answer those questions, I ask that you join me in a series of interviews about getting to know legal aid of North Carolina. I promise you that I and you together, we will learn what legal aid is and what services it provides. In 2017, there were approximately 30,000 incidents of domestic violence reported in North Carolina, probably an equal number of not reported cases. Legal Aid of North Carolina has traditionally dedicated a substantial advocacy to represent victims of domestic violence. Actually, in 2017, Legal Aid represented close to 7,000 victims of domestic violence. The challenge for legal aid is not just the number, although they are significant, is that the victim of domestic violence is in crisis, in legal crisis many times. They are vulnerable and suffer from unemployment, need for child support, medical issues. Legal aid offers assistance in all those areas. The victim also needs support from the community, and the community needs education in this area. To explore today how legal aid can meet those challenges, we have Ashley Campbell. Ms. Campbell is a trial attorney with the Raleigh firm of Ragdale and Liggett. She is the past president of the Wake County Bar. She's also director of the Campbell Law Clinic, Community Clinic, and she is a former legal aid attorney. A perfect person to help us through this challenging practice of law. Ms. Campbell, tell us how legal aid does it. How they meet this enormous challenge?
Well, there are so many cases every year that certainly many lawyers are needed to provide legal representation to all of those victims. Legal Aid has lawyers on staff who go to court every week and represent victims in hearings. And in addition to that, they have a team of volunteer lawyers who they can call who are licensed in North Carolina and who have experience handling domestic violence cases, who take those cases pro bono. And so they will go to court and represent the victim in court on a pro bono basis. That arrangement is really what's necessary in order to meet the tremendous need that you've described.
Are there examples or times when the protective order is not the only remedy the victim gets?
Yes. So a lot of times victims seek assistance from the court because they want what many people think of as a restraining order. They want to restrain the defendant from coming around the victim. So they understand that provision of the order. But in North Carolina, domestic violence protective orders also provide a variety of other remedies to the victim. So for example, if the victim has children, they may be able to obtain temporary custody in the domestic violence protective order if certain provisions are met. In addition, the victim could obtain child support from the defendant to support the children that are in his or her care. There are other remedies, for example, for pet owners to divide pets between the victim and the defendant, to evict a defendant from the dwelling where the victim resides, even if the defendant is on the lease. So there are a variety of different provisions like that that are available to a victim in addition to asking the defendant to stay away from the victim.
So it appears that this army of lawyers that you describe all together offer different services to the victims. Tell me how the shelters and now called family justice centers enter into this cycle, how they connect, and what is the relationship with legal aid and the shelters?
Family justice centers or shelters provide really a critical role in meeting the needs of domestic violence victims. Most victims either know about a shelter in their community and will go there after a domestic violence incident occurs, or law enforcement knows about the shelter, and when they go on a scene where domestic violence has occurred, they will refer the victim to that center. Once the victim gets there, the staff is trained about the availability of domestic violence protective orders and will often advise victims if they think that may be something that they should obtain. In addition to that, many shelters have relationships with the justice system. So in some counties, for example, a victim can actually go on the internet over a Skype-type streaming service to speak to a judge and to obtain a domestic violence protective order without even having to go to court. So the shelters really help facilitate the victim's interaction with the court system and make it easier for the victim to obtain legal services. Additionally, of course, shelters also provide housing for victims and their families and other resources and services.
And I think I need to emphasize that the victims we are referring to are not just women. There are men, children, and lately we have seen a spike in the number of elderly that are victims of abuse and seek protective orders. All those victims then connect with legal aid through the shelters, as you said, and also they can call directly the legal aid helpline that connects them with an attorney to provide this help. The number of the helpline that I just mentioned is 866-219-5262. Ashley, thank you so much for being here. I'm delighted and greatly appreciate that you joined us. And for all of you, thank you for joining in this episode of Conversations with Ruth. We will continue presenting the episodes and exploring all the legal practice of legal aid and what we do. Thanks a lot.